Don't be scared now, but it looks like you just wandered straight into UMind country. That's UMind, short for unaffiliated mind games, and you ain't never gonna be the same again. Brace yourself. It's time for a red hot truth injection. Oh yeah! That's right, bitch. We're rounding up the sheeple and shaking them awake. You mind? Too damn bad. We're gonna set fire to the wool over your eyes. Feel the burn, baby. Hot damn. We're toppling the lies of the lamestream media one by one. Woo-wee! Watch them bad boys fall. Hey, Universe A, this is Universe B calling, and we're gonna tear you a new one. You mind?
Okay, hey everybody. I am here with my special guest.
My name is Quantal.
Quantal. Quantal, you're kind of different for this series because you're human. That's weird, but yeah, I guess it's working out for you.
Yes. It's working out. If I wasn't human, I think I would. Honestly, I think I would want to be a werewolf.
Yeah.
If I wasn't human, but considering I'm human right now, I'm doing all right. I'm doing well.
I have a friend who can make that happen for you if you're interested. Yeah. So, anyway, aside from being a human, and my condolences, what do you do?
By profession, I'm a graphic designer.
Yeah.
I run a graphic design studio called Langford Design. I've got other things that I'm doing as well besides the design studio. I've got a lifestyle brand called Just Heart, and it generally caters towards more people on the athletic in the athletic industry. So I do work with a lot of MMA fighters and sports teams and a lot of fitness enthusiasts. And then got my own podcast as well, the Creative Brew, and I bring people on interesting entrepreneurs, creatives such as you, and we just talk about the successes and pitfalls of the creative life. So that's really for the most part what I've got going right now. I do got some other little side projects.
Cool.
So I've got a graphic novel that's in the works right now. So currently writing on that.
All right.
And
is that proprietary information?
For the most part, I mean it's one of those where it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Writing the script right now, but a lot of the concept characters and plot lines and things like that is pretty much complete. So just slowly but surely moving forward with that. Sometimes it could be a little tough if especially with all the other things that I've got going, and then making time for the graphic novel. So sometimes it could be a little tough. But I'm trying to stay consistent, at least writing a few pages a day and things like that. But
absolutely.
But yeah, that's all a lot of the things that I have going on right now.
Yeah. Well, so I'm really interested in the Creative Brew. I've seen some of it online, and it's just really fascinating to hear the stories of these people who've decided really just to dedicate themselves to creative careers and entrepreneurship. Because it's when I was going to college many years ago, the big thing that you heard from everyone is like, don't choose art. Like, do something else, but psychology or communications.
Yeah.
But
I've had that said to me a lot of times. Is one of those where even my mom, she's actually pretty creative, and I think I get a lot of my creative genes from my mom and some of my other family members. But they were like, you get something stable, you're going to starve as an artist. And, so hearing things like that, I've sort of heard that, and it's sort of resounded, just through the years. But I think now, and the times are changing now. I mean, as far as the pace of technology and just the opportunities that you have available to, really create and share and express certain things. I think that the avenues there to, for any creative, any artist, anybody that's wanting to, create a, pretty much a lifestyle around their, passions or pursuits, they can do it. I don't think then. I don't think it was prevalent. No, definitely not technology. As far as even podcasting and things like that was pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
So having all these avenues to be able to do different things now, I think it for me personally, it's channels for me to be able to create and really try to create something that supports me and my family and things like that. But yeah, I've heard a lot of times where you need to find something stable. You're not going to survive being an artist and things like that. And I think it's different now. As long as you're resourceful.
Yeah, that is one of the things as an artist you really have to kind of push and hustle for your next gig. Though we are kind of as a culture heading into a gig economy. It's not everybody working in an office place, and that used to be like what an artist was. Is like you had your copyright department, you had your art department, and you had these people who worked in a back room somewhere, and now that's not where it is anymore.
It's different. I mean, it's just one of those where I think from last I heard, I saw it on some article, and just paraphrasing it, that a lot of people they generally their lifespan. I mean, not their lifespan, but as far as being in a certain career, it's usually for about 3 to 5 years, and they go somewhere else. So, I mean, it's one of those where I think people, I think definitely the days of, having a pension and, being at a job for 20 or 30 years and then retiring, that's long gone. I think now people, they want to be able to, enjoy life. Honestly, they want to be supported and, do things they love, but it's just I think people are searching and people are sort of just figuring out, what they want to do in life. And I don't think a lot of people now, I think people are just, wanting to sort of jump around and see what's available.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is one of those. You do get your pros and cons with both.
Sure.
As far as with the gig economy, but I think it.
Shush. That was my phone.
Yeah.
I need to put it on silent. That's a rookie mistake.
Yeah, I've did that. I've done that a few times. But I think with the gig economy, it's one of those where it lends to people that's really just wanting to try to search and go from place to place and really trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. And I think that's something I encourage anybody to do. You do have some people that they are old school. They want to get this job and that's it. That's something they plan for. And I honestly, I've thought about that, and I don't think I'm built like that. It's just one of those where I enjoy, trying out new things and experimenting. And I think I told my wife if I wasn't, creating, or if I wasn't a graphic designer, I'd probably be some kind of mad scientist or something like that.
Right.
I love concocting and experimenting with things and seeing, what doesn't work, what does work, and mixing everything together. So.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I find that that you do. I still kind of have to justify myself to people who are in that more old school mentality. There's a friend of mine who is constantly hustling from one office to the next and doesn't seem to be able to make it work out, but insists, like, I'm a writer. And it's like, except that you never have any time to write. You come home and you are exhausted and you sit in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And it's like, wouldn't it be better if you just figured out a way to, maybe work fewer hours or work doing something you love? And
and that's something I've started to talk about more, even on my podcast. And and I know I'll get messages on Instagram, and people ask me, they're wanting to write their book, or they've got pages for a script, or they're just wanting to get started with their creative career. And a lot of times I'll give them certain ideals that, maybe it might push them in the right direction. I'm not saying it's the absolute right direction, but it might be something that may force them to be like, okay, well, maybe I could do this, or maybe, like you were saying, some things that I can adjust in my daily schedule. Personally, for me, I am a huge fan of rituals. And so I'm up early in the morning.
Yeah.
And it gives me the space to be able to, honestly, to sort of take care of myself and get myself in the right mindset. But it gives me the space too to be like, if I want to create something, or if I want to write or things like that, write a few pages. And that, for me, that's it. My goal, especially with all the things that I've got going on, if I knew I could, crank out a quick podcast, or if I could write a couple pages a day,
Mm-hmm.
especially with those things that's going into a certain direction I want to go in, that's productive for me. I'm not looking to try to write a whole book in a week. I'm not going to be able to do that. But if I could just write 1 page a day or 2 pages a day and get up earlier and do that. So, and then also too, as far as the way I set up my morning, it gives me the extra energy, by the end of the day to be able to, keep going. So it's one of those where I think a lot of people, I think there's certain things they could do to, because honestly, I think more people get more mentally drained than anything else.
Right.
So even, I'm not saying it's bad, but even, going home and watching TV, well, you're sort of draining yourself.
Yeah.
And what makes it even worse is when people go on Netflix or something like that, knowing that maybe a story that you could have written or you could have wrote or something you could have created could possibly be on Netflix.
Right.
So it's one of those to where it's, you want to find that space and the capacity to be able to, especially if there's something you want to do, take the time to be able to, create it. And if you value it, you'll make time for it.
Yeah.
So.
I think so. Now, if it's okay, I want to talk about you as a person.
Okay.
What inspired you initially to get into art, and then from there into sort of comics?
Okay. I think personally for me, that's a great question. For me, what inspired me to get into art is, honestly, I think it's one of those where I've sort of been around artists all my life. My uncle, shout out to my uncle, but he passed away, some years ago. And someone that I always saw.
Hi. Hello.
Hey.
No.
We can't pause this real quick if you want to.
No. It's
Okay,
we're
still
actually in a coffee shop, just
Okay.
so that everybody knows. We're actually in Panel's Coffee House and Comic Book Shop, and that's where we're recording today. And so if you hear some outside interference, if you hear people coming in and saying hi, then don't get scared. It's okay.
Yeah, you're doing better than me. Usually I would try to, even on my podcast, I would try to knock down the background noise because people do come in, and now I'm like, oh, forget it. Whoever comes in, it's just part of it. So, but as far as being around art, my uncle and my mom, they were big. They were always creative, and I sort of lend that as far as initially being around art to them.
Yeah.
I even from a young age I was drawing, and it was one of those my uncle, he was a brilliant artist, and I was actually trying to trace a picture or something like that, and I traced it. I was like maybe probably like second grade, and I was tracing a picture and showed it to him, and thinking he wouldn't even notice, and he noticed it, and he was like, well, just need to look at the image and scan it until you get every part of the picture.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did, and I just kept looking at the picture, and sure enough I was able to draw it, and I just got better from there. My mom, she's always been into crafts and collages and things like that, so we would, even when I was younger, I would build all of these crazy collages and all kind of like little fortresses and things like that for my toys. But she was always, I think she was always, even her and my uncle were very inspiring to me, and really sort of pushed my creativity. Now, for them, they wasn't sure. Honestly, they didn't have the awareness as far as like how I could use that gift to be able to create something sustainable. But they gave me the pathway to really push my creativity and then just be who I am, and so from there I sort of just worked on it through high school, through college. High school took advanced art, and then college I graduated with a degree in graphic design, thinking obviously it was probably a little bit more stable. I've always been background-wise, I've always been a fine artist, into a lot of pencil and things like that. But now I've sort of transitioned more towards digital art, more towards obviously graphic design with logo designs and things like that for clients. But I think for me, I've always been just a creative person, and I think that creativity has sort of encompassed a lot of the things that I do in my professional and my personal life. So, but yeah, that's how I got into what comic book was. I've always been a huge comic book nerd. From little, my uncle, one of my other uncles had all these old school Marvel comics, and that's where I got hooked on. So it was like the old, 1970s, Marvel Knight and Power Man and Iron Fist and all those. So I just immediately got hooked on that, and yeah, I've always been a comic book fan since then. So. Used to be a hardcore collector. Now I don't collect as much now.
Right.
But yeah, I still keep up with everything, a lot of the storylines and things that's going on. But yeah, I think comic books has always influenced a lot of my design work and my art and things like that. So.
I've always thought it's kind of interesting that there's less of a stigma now.
Yeah.
But I know that a while ago that people were kind of like, oh, comic books. They're kind of like it. Yeah, that's cute, I guess. Which is weird because art is considered like an intellectual thing, and writing's considered an intellectual thing.
Yeah.
Film, which is essentially a comic book, is like a storyboard for a film. Is an intellectual, but somehow when you put it all together in a comic book, then I don't know if it's like is it too pedestrian for people, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think years ago it was like that.
Yeah.
I think now with a lot of just really the quality of the writing and things like that. I think now it's taken more of a mainstream where even now there's programs or comic book studios like Little Fish down in San Diego. They use comic books and graphic novels as a way to educate kids and they create programs around that. So I think now and even with pop culture now and people seeing the movies and then they're going back to the comic books and things like that. I think now it's just taking a more mainstream appeal. Even with the Comic-Con, it's it's a monster now. It's huge, and so now I really feel like it's more just taking really a more mainstream approach now than what it used to. And even personally for me, I mean that was that was how I actually started reading was comic books, and then that was how I practiced on my reading as a kid. So there was words in there that I really didn't even understand what it was, but in the context of how they put it in the story, I could understand it. So I think in that frame that I think now it's huge, and so yeah, I'm interested to see where it's going to be at in the next 5 to 10 years. But I think just the quality of artwork and writing, I think it's one of those combinations of everything of storytelling and film and art. It's just one of those where you package all that up. It's just I feel like it's a beautiful thing. So.
Yeah. I feel like also, the age of the internet, it's a blessing and a curse for people who are in the creative industry.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have, all these outlets that weren't, reachable for you before. And then at the same time, it's so impacted because all of a sudden, all these other people are like vying for the same work that you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's especially with social media. It could be a great thing when you put it in the right use, but at the same time too, now everybody has the same gateway to do things. So it's one of those where you're vying for more attention now, and really trying to figure out how do you get the eyeballs of your potential audience and things like that. So it's just one of those. It could be hard. Especially with, and especially if you're just starting out, sometimes it can just be, daunting. You're almost first of all, you already have that fear of rejection anyway as an artist or as a creative. So just getting your work out there and then getting that feedback. I think just as my experience, in college, we were always doing art critiques and things like that. So it causes you real quick to, build some tough skin. So, if you put something out, you don't get feedback from it, or if someone gives you a negative feedback or a negative, criticism, I think now I can take it, but I think a lot of the younger artists, it's a little harder for them.
Yeah.
And I think it might be a generational thing. I don't know. Or if I think a lot of the younger artists that I would I don't know how they're doing in school. I know for us we always did a lot of art critiques, so I don't know how they set it up now to where they don't do as many critiques or what. But I think it's one of those getting that constant feedback. I think it helps you as an artist. And
oh my God, I put you on silence.
It's a message.
That's the boss.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
All right.
So, hey, boss, we're doing the podcast in a coffee shop. How are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's
I just
okay.
wanted
You're the Lord of
I just
Darkness.
wanted
You don't have to apologize. So.
I just wanted you to sign me up for 2 years of that decrepit and ancient magazine.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will put that in my inbox and I will get right to it, sir. Thank you.
No one's more decrepit and ancient than I am.
No one is more decrepit and ancient than you are, sir. That is correct. Well, thank you for calling into our podcast, and I'm gonna let you go, but always a pleasure, sir.
All righty.
All right.
Don't behave yourself, okay?
I will, sir. I will. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.
Bye. So, that was Old Scratch.
All right.
You know, the devil.
Yes.
I work out of HE double hockey stick. That's and I'm kind of the office manager there right now.
Yeah.
I got signed on as his apprentice. It's a long story. So he can call through apparently when the phone is on silent.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Well, I guess when you're the Lord of Darkness,
Yep. Pretty much.
silence on a phone doesn't really mean too much now,
Nope.
does it? So
Airplane mode means nothing.
no. So, but so you have not had to sell your soul to get forward to progress in your art, though. So that's,
No,
Okay.
no, not as yet. I hope not. So I think right now I'm
if
good
you
to go.
need to,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I definitely don't need a crossroads demon or anything like that. But yeah, right now I think I'm good, and I'm just still sort of pushing away and figuring out the things that work and don't work, and showing others.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I really like about that is that you are kind of a mentor for people in that creative community.
Yeah.
That you are putting yourself out there and helping people. And I think that, like what we were talking about, the criticism, and that younger people are not able to receive criticism.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is maybe like people talk about education and that people are too pandering. But I think
Yeah.
a lot of it is that online you have people who give criticism that's not real criticism. Like I put
Yeah.
out a podcast and they're like, "You're fat and old," and I'm like, "Yes," and
Yeah, with social media, you get the rise of keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
And one of those where, I think it's one of those where I've sort of developed a lot of tough skin. Even just doing, I mean, from doing college athletics, being a collegiate wrestler, it's just forced me to. I'm very ambitious, and I can be stubborn both ways, pros and con. And it's one of those where I tend to ignore a lot of people. If they, I mean, like I said, I know the people that do matter to me,
Yeah.
and I'm always looking for feedback from them. But yeah, it's one of those I don't listen to a lot of keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
So if you didn't put out the podcast, then it wouldn't be a keyboard warrior to exist to be able to do something
right.
like
Well,
that.
you really haven't made it until somebody wants to shut you down.
Yeah, it's
So
it's. I think it's one of those where I've always seen myself as a mentor, as a teacher, and I think that's just innately who I am. I've always been willing to, if I have a certain skill or maybe something that I've learned, I'm always willing to sort of share and give it out, because there's been times where that's happened to me, to where it can be easy to, I mean, especially in the creative community where you may not want to give out a resource or a tip or something to maybe your quote unquote competition, but now it's just one of those where my biggest thing is collaboration, and I could care less. I hope everybody succeeds. There's room for everybody to succeed in what they're doing. So if there's something that I know, or maybe a skill or a resource, I'm more than happy to share it out to somebody else. So like I said, I want to see everybody rise, and I think it's just one of those where obviously you're gonna have you're always gonna have haters, and it's one of those where it's just part of life now, especially with social media. You got people that really don't like their life right now, so let's find a way to make it just as bad for someone else.
Right.
But they don't know. They're just all they're doing is drinking their own poison. So
Yeah, that's true. Very cool. So now, what ways have you found to sort of, as we talked about the impacted creative field because of the internet, what ways have you found to sort of make yourself stand out?
I think different ways. At first, initially, I found myself wanting to, and I think that's what any creative, just especially when you get on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, you find yourself wanting to, I guess sort of toot your own horn. I'd say that's bad, but it's one of those where I used to sort of push out something, or maybe try to sell a service, and I think now I've started to sort of switch it more now to where I'm focused more now on just really just giving out some value. It's one of those where I've started to record a lot of creative tips, or even just a working process of something. Doing video as far as from the start, maybe like an initial sketch to a finished piece or finished logo design or things like that, and just put that out. And I'm not really worried as far as just trying to just go out and sell my services. I want to be able to create some kind of value, and maybe some kind of a emotional connection in a relationship with people. I think once you do that, then you'll get the customers or the clients and things like that. But I want to be able to create those relationships first, and give someone some value, something that may help them, and then along the way, I think that energy just reciprocates over time. And that's right now. I'm doing a lot of video, doing some content, some written content. But I think for the most part, that's how I'm sort of pushing out certain things. And I've sort of found out that doing more of that, I found out that I've gotten more client work, or more potential client work, doing that, and just giving out some inspiration, some motivation. I've been able to get back. I've had more potential clients come to me than just sort of posting out my services and what I offer, because I see it all the time. And it's just one of those where I think people they're looking for value. And it's bad, but a lot of people in the audience is human nature. Is what could you do for me? And I think that's really the name of the game. If you can help somebody, people will help you back in return. So that's how I see things. So
I always think that that relationship, like the internet can open that so much, and then people talk about like, oh, people are desensitized and they don't have the same relationships because of the internet. It's like, well, you're using it wrong, because the internet doesn't do anything that humans haven't been doing forever. Like sharing pictures, sharing stories. We're just doing it at a much faster pace. And so you can use it to connect to people, to exchange ideas, to find, like when I was younger, there was nobody I knew who liked comics or art, or especially the kind of art that I do, which is a little weird and morbid. And I actually got kicked out of, we won't talk about that. But you know what? That just wasn't something that was around. People were just like, "What's wrong with you? Are you sick?" And now you can get online and you can say, "Hey, there's other people who love what I love and do what I do," and I think it's really powerful.
Like I said, the landscape now is, for anybody that's wanting to create any kind of genre of artwork, it's free range now. You've got an audience for everything, and I think that's actually I think it's liberating for many artists or creators. That's maybe they have a certain subject matter that they want to work on, but they're sort of afraid to put it out. Well, now there's an audience for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's liberating. I think that's freeing for a lot of people because, like I said, there's a lot of them that use their art as art therapy. It's one of those where they use that to sort of express how they feel emotionally or physically, and so it's therapy for them too as well. And I think now being able to have that audience that resonates with them and be like, I understand where you're coming from. I think that's especially with social media, you can connect so much faster now. And so yeah, I agree with you. I think some people are just using it wrong. Yeah, it's very easy. I mean, I've got more context through social media than I have anything else because now it's just everybody's got things they've got going on. Sometimes it can be hard to give someone a call or write a letter. Now like I said, you want to try to do those little things. I've actually done those little things. Just to obviously to check in on people, but just to let them know that you still care. But it's just so much quicker to be able to get access to certain people. If you want to work with somebody, well, go on Instagram and follow them. Start commenting on certain images and posts, and give them something of value. Maybe it's something you created. Maybe it's something sort of geared towards their brand. Post it out, tag them. And that's how you build that relationship. So,
yeah, I think that's really important. And so, can you give us any kind of inkling of your comic that you're working on, or is it top secret?
Oh, I won't necessarily say it's top secret, but it's one of those. I've always been, and I've told you before. Like I said, I want to be a scientist.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a creative, I would be a scientist. But I'm always. And my wife was asking, why have you always, loved, space and sci-fi? And it's just one of those where I think just growing up, I've always loved the Star Trek.
Yeah.
Watched that with my mom growing up. So I've always sort of been around just science fiction. And so yeah, the comic book I'm working on now, it's a whole graphic novel. It's called Seed. And it's a sort of a sci-fi, fantasy graphic novel, and it's just one of those to where I think it's sort of the culmination of a lot of research, a lot of things that that I feel that are happening right now, even on Earth and in this galaxy, in this universe that's going on right now. I sort of I wanted that to be, and I'll talk to my wife about it, maybe a message.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those where you have, certain characters that's portrayed in the comic book, and there's a alien object that sort of appears out of the blue, called the Resonant, and it for the most part it pretty much awakes certain individuals with certain abilities, and you have different alien clans that's on Earth. That's they're all sort of vying for these humans, and so yeah, a lot of conspiracy stuff, a lot of a lot of things. I honestly, I told my wife it's probably more of a spiritual book than anything else. So it's got a lot of spiritual undertones. Just the concepts of quantum entanglement. Another theme is honestly like parallel universes and the concepts of soul families, and just a lot of things like that is sort of tied into it. The things about energy and vibration and frequency in our universe, and so I sort of tied all that up into a story, and so we'll see how it develops. So I'm very interested into it. Definitely still writing. I'll probably have to do some rewrites, but it's something that I plan on. I would love to get published by next year.
Yeah.
And hopefully once it's published, I'll let you know. But
Great, yeah.
but yeah, I think it's one of those books where I've always sort of had that in my mind, and finally now having the courage to actually create it. It's one of those where sometimes I can be a perfectionist sometimes, and
Sure.
feel like it's not ready, and it's just one of those where I've sort of learned just do it,
Yeah.
and you can come back and revise it, in the next book or whatever. But I'm starting to get in the process of just making it and just getting it out.
Yeah.
And so I think once I do that, I'll be a happy guy, because it's sort of been on my brain for a couple of years now. And so I urge anybody that's writing their own book or creating anything, just get it out. Don't let it fester in your brain, because all it does is turn into a swamp.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that negative energy, and I know personally, and I've seen it personally, where if you don't express those ideals, it can fester, and that negative energy, it just dominoes effects. I mean, it just turns into a domino effect in all facets of your life.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where create it, express it, share it, do what you need to do, but just get it done. So
Absolutely. I think one of the best things about sci-fi too, when you talk about that, is that it allows you to address subjects with this metaphor that people are more ready to consume than they would be if you started talking about, like, soul families or something, just sitting at a coffee shop, like. Then, and I really like that about the sort of the sci-fi. You have something similar in horror as well, where you can make commentary on things. It's really a powerful tool. I kind of feel like if more people, there's a certain idea that creative people, that you have to have a certain level of talent, that you have to have a certain level of skill. And I feel like if more people were free to be creative and just express things, it's like you don't have to be on any level. You have to, you just get it out there, and then maybe people would do less of, like we were talking about, keyboard warriors on the internet. Trying to tear other people down. It's like, no, go focus on something.
As like, you take the time to write a negative post about someone else's creative work, then you are wasting a lot of time and energy doing that. And it's just one of those where go do you. You got people that's they have even people like you and others that they have the capacity to be able to create anything they want to, and put it out there. And obviously, you always get your feedback, but having that courage to be able to do that, I think for keyboard warriors, I think that riles them up so much, because they're probably creative. They just instead of them focusing on maybe some things they could be doing, and they would rather put that negative energy towards somebody else and try to tear someone else down. It's far more easier to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, but it's just one of those where, it's I think now for anybody, they can create anything they want to. You don't have to be a certain level. It's sort of hard even looking through all these comic books. I mean, to compare an artist to another one. I mean, everybody just has different styles. I mean, you can even say, this artwork is horrible. Where if you're saying it's horrible, they were good enough to be in a comic book. So I don't know. I don't know what you're basing it off of, but everybody has their different styles. Everybody has their different tastes. So it's one of those where even myself, being in graphic design and creating all this work, I'll never see myself as a master. I always see myself as having a student's mind, and learning as I go, and definitely fine tuning some things in my personal style. But I'm always learning, and I think sometimes that could be the plateau for a lot of people, where they feel like they're doing all this, and then they feel like they should be getting to a certain point, and that's not the case. I mean, you're always in a continual process of change. Who knows? I mean, even the next 5 to 10 years, I might not be doing anything that I'm doing right now. I might be doing something else completely different. But I'm in the creative process of doing so. And I think with that awareness, you always have the freedom to change and do do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm just very blessed to in my capacity being a freelancer. I've got the freedom to do a lot of things, and at the same time too, I have to be somewhat disciplined with that
Right.
freedom, because
Yeah.
it could be a bad day, and it's very easy to just call it a day and just go back to sleep.
Yep.
And it was like, I don't want to email nobody. I don't want to hear nothing.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do that. So it's one of those where you develop a lot of scars and battle wounds, but you get yourself up, and you keep learning and keep growing. So that's how I see it.
Very cool.
So
okay, well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to contribute?
Yeah. I mean, if like I said, glad to be on this podcast.
Thank you.
Always looking to partner up with other podcasters such as yourself.
Yeah.
And if anyone that's listening, hey, please check out our podcast. It's very eclectic, but I think you'll be very impressed with the episodes. So please check out her podcast. If you're wanting to learn the successes and pitfalls of other creatives, and even me, and what I do in my creative life, check out the Creative Brew, and I've got it on SoundCloud and iTunes.
Yeah.
And I've also partnered up with the Helium Radio Network.
Oh wow.
That's an online radio station based out of Florida, so I'm always on there every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Pacific time, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So I've got all the new episodes launch on there. So we talk about all kinds of things, and hopefully you'll be able to tune in and check that out. But that's want to give a quick shout out for that.
All right, great. We'll be putting the link in the description as well.
All right,
and make sure that everybody gets a chance to see that. Is there any website or Instagram or anything that you would want to plug right now?
If you want to check out any of my work that I'm doing right now, you can go to Facebook at Langford Design, LANGFORDESIGN. It's all combined, and or you can go to the Langford Studio, and that's on Instagram. So if you want to check that out, or you can check out the Creative Brew podcast, which is the on Instagram at the Creative Brew TV, or you can look online on Facebook at the Creative Brew TV. Check that out, and I'm always posting out some different creative tips from other people from past episodes, and then even just things through the day. If there's a creative tip or maybe something that for anybody looking for some inspiration, I'm usually putting out little videos and things like that. So, but yeah.
And then also your artwork is around here as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
at Panels Coffee Shop and Comic Book that you do cups.
Yes. Yep. Got some. Been doing some custom coffee cups. So and actually on Facebook, I've been doing some free giveaways right now.
Nice.
So I recently just did a Matrix cup and a Pennywise cup, and I did a Venom cup, and it's one of those where if you the contest sort of consists of if whoever posts out the best meme wins it. So it's sort of caught on, and so I've been mailing out coffee cups, and then like I said, if people are interested in wanting a commission for one, I'll do commissions too. So
nice.
But it's sort of liberating for me. It's just a way for me to sort of express, especially sometimes just getting away from the computer and just getting back on with a pencil and coffee cup. But it's for me, it's more just it allows me to sort of decompress.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where I've had a lot of people like it. So
very cool. So if you guys are in the San Diego area and you're in Oceanside, check out Panels Coffee Bar and Comic Book Shop, and you can see some of his artwork in person. And before we go, I'm just really curious, how do you mail a cup?
I sort of that's a good question. Now what I'll do is I'll go to the UPS store or whatnot, and I'll tell them to pretty much they'll wrap it up in bubble wrap.
Okay.
And then they'll put it like in one of the small boxes, so they'll make sure where it doesn't come out crushed or whatnot. So yeah, I'll make sure they put the bubble wrap around it, then they put it in another like little small box, and then they'll ship it out. So usually it comes out pretty good. So I hadn't had anyone say they came with a crushed coffee cup or anything
That's
yet.
good.
So.
That's good. Very cool. Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Special thanks to Quantal Langford for appearing on the show. I want to make sure everyone goes and checks out Creative Brew, and that is his podcast. You can go and check it out Facebook, thecreativebrew.tv, thecreativebrew.tv on Instagram, and then go to check him out on SoundCloud, Helium, and Apple Podcasts. Our theme is by Ethan Meixsell, the Demilitarized Zone. Follow us on all the great social media links that you're going to find down below. Then you can check out all the cool stuff we're doing. We got art, we got comics, we got stickers, we got pretty much everything that you can imagine. And you know what? Thanks for watching, because we can't do it without you guys, and hope you're enjoying the show. Also, if you'd like to become a Patreon like the Grammarica Show or Nikki Benfield, just go ahead on to patreon.com/lucidnap. And that's where you can make it happen. Let me know some kind of Patreon perks that you might like to see too, because I don't know unless you tell me. What are you kids into? I'm not hip. So also, I want to make sure that you guys join me Saturday, October 26, 2019 at Queen Bee's Arts and Cultural Center at 3925 Ohio Street in San Diego, California for HORRORGASM. That is an all-horror arts show, and I am going to be vending at it. You can buy some of my crazy art and all sorts of other crazy stuff that I'm going to be selling. And then the very next day, on October 27th, I am going to be selling art at Gray Market, and that is going to be at AleSmith Brewing House, which you can get a beer, you can get some art. It's going to be amazing, and that is at 9990, easy to remember, 9990 AleSmith Court, San Diego. And there's going to be vendors, craft beer, food trucks. It's going to be amazing. So you don't want to miss that. It'd be very sad if you missed that. Everybody would cry. So, especially you. So make sure that you check those events out if you're in the San Diego area or nearby. Okay, guys, thank you for listening in. I'll talk to you later. Bye.